While we're not essentially voting on the Brown House tonight, it seems to be an emotional issue, and I think I can weigh in on it because of my close association with David Brown and having been in the house prior to it being relocated. In the late 70s, early 80s, David Brown became concerned about the loss of historical structures and houses and artifacts in Wildomar, and the fact that he was a native son, and he had an intimate knowledge of most items within Wildomar and who lived in them and where they lived and who built it. He begins doing research, and he asked me to help him, and so he and I, you might say, were the first historical society. David attempted to add several of these structures, houses that he'd lived in or his family had owned and lived in. He wanted to add them to the National Registry. We did a lot of research. He filled out, completed the application and submitted it. We were unable to, we were not successful. And in particular, there's two structures that are considered Brown houses only because the Browns lived in them and they may or may not built them. And they're right across from one another. And I think some of the studies have confused an existing dwelling that's right across the street from where the Brown house is, that's on the Wildomar or Baxter crossing. Architecturally, they're different. I was in the house prior to it being relocated. And the point where I'm headed is that architecturally, there's no significance. I don't feel that this commission should be putting a condition on the developer. I have supervised the construction of over 200 homes. I've handled and managed considerable remodeling. And this house would be very expensive. What I might suggest the two groups getting together and do what happened in Elsinore. There was property downtown at the end of Main Street at Lakeshore, and it had a water tower on it. The owner was going to develop the property and he was going to tear the tower down. The word got out within the community and they didn't want to lose it, and so several volunteers, he donated it to the community, and the chamber said, we have a spot, you can move it here. Well, they went to move it and they found out that basically it came apart. It was still standing, but structurally it was not sound. And so what they did, and what you might consider in this little plaza in the center, perhaps build a skeleton of the water tower. Use some of the wood from the existing water tower, some of the wood from the house, and you can build a replica of the water tower and it won't be expensive. Don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars restoring a house that has no significance. When Dave took me through it, he said it was just a common farmhouse. The home across the street is a little different. It has some architectural significance. But I just urge the two groups, the money could be spent to add some other amenities within that area for the residents to enjoy. And I'm sorry, and I love history, and I love saving history, and I worked with Dave on it. I have a lot of his historical items, and I will be donating them to the city. And so I'm a big fan of preserving when it's possible, when it makes sense. This does not make sense. Do not do it. Build a replica and use some of the material. Build some amenities around it. Maybe it's a little community gathering spot, some outdoor patio. You're obviously going to have some food restaurants there. Do something that benefits that entire neighborhood, and you can label it the Brown Tower. So it's just a thought.